Maseches Brachos Daf Chav Tes. The Gemara says that b'chol yomos hashana, a person could daven havinenu. That means that 3 brachos rishonos, 3 brachos achronos, and 1 large kitzur bracha of all the middle brachos, except for Matzah Shabbos, because you have to say Havdalah b'choin and Adas, and you can't put in Havdalah b'choin and Adas. And the Gemara asks, so why can't you include it? The Gemara says kasha. Ben Yoineh says a teretz that to the Gemara's kasha that could be that only me'ain a bracha you put into Havinenu, but Havdalah b'choin and Adas is not, the Havdalah itself is not a bracha, so therefore it doesn't belong in Havinenu. Reb Chaim in stencils uses this Yisod in Ben Yoineh to explain the halacha of Alamichya. By Alamichya we find the bracha me'ain shalish, the Birchas Hamazon. It's 2 big kashas on the bracha. First of all, we only find you make haskara me'ein ha'ma'ora by Shabbos and Rosh Chodesh. You don't find it by Chanukah Purim. Why by Chanukah Purim don't you have haskara in Alamichya? Another kasha is the haskara by Shabbos is after the haskara of Yerushalayim, and in Birchas Hamazon it's before by Yerushalayim. So if Chaim says that the answer is this Rabbeinu Yoineh. The Rabbeinu Yoineh is avur that the geder of Havinenu is a kitzer of the brachas, not a kitzer of the haskaras. So hu adin by me'ein sholish Alamichya, it's also similar to Havinenu, that it is a kitzer of the brachas, not of haskaras. So therefore Chanukah Purim, which is just haskara ba'alma, there's no makom in Alamichya. However, they would say, and Yalav Yovai, that over there the halacha is Gemara says Nachmem Tes that if you forget to say, would say there's a chiv bracha after Boin Yerushalayim, so Melech has a din bracha, the haskor of it say has a Torah's bracha, and Melech explains that's why it's taka after Boin Yerushalayim, because if you forget the ikar takana of the bracha in benching of Ritzei is after Boin Yerushalayim. That means if somebody forgets Ritzei or forgets Yalav Yavai, he says it after Boin Yerushalayim. So Melo, that's why in Alamichya it's after Boin Yerushalayim. There's one else on this that the Gemara asks afterwards. By Shail you should also make Meisek Shamim. You should say put it in Havinenu. And the Magen Avraham asks the kasha that according to Ben Yoineh it's not a bracha. And he says, no, it's not nikra, like no one's going to mistake it for a bracha. So it sounds like he understood Rabbeinu Yoineh, not like Reb Chaim, it's not a din kilu, only on whatever has a din bracha, but only because you're going to get mixed up. But ayin the taz is mashman like Reb Chaim, but ayin sham. In the halacha it's more in this Gemara that you can't say havinenu on Matzah Shabbos because you can't say havdalah b'choin and adas. There's 2 interesting halachas in the Poskim. The Pri Megadim declares what happens if someone goes against the halacha and he says Havinenu on Matzah Shabbos and he says at the Chaynantanu. Is he yotze b'diavad against the Kanas Chazal? Kvei declares what happens if somebody has no other choice. He can't say long Shmona Esrei Matzah Shabbos. The only choice is to say Havinenu and to miss that Havdalah, and Havdalah by itself is not makiv. Havdalah you could say alakois. So could someone say Havinenu? That's a Kvegas Shailon. There's similar questions on the Ikadin of Havinenu. What happens if someone has time to say the Ikar Tfilas Yudches, and instead he says Havinenu? Mishnah Berurah says, but the evidence is Yoitza. El Yerab is mashma not. Rosh Yosef is mesupik if someone could be Yoitza if he was Shloi b'shas atchak Havinenu. Very interesting. And the geder of the Ikar Takanas Havinenu. And further interesting, Chakir Rosh Yosef, if someone was nischayiv to say Havinenu, and he didn't say it, and then he has to make up the next tefillah, is his tefillah's tashlum in a tefillah's Havinenu, or is a regular tefillah? Akoponim, in the Kvega Shaila, Kvega has a suffix, if Matzah Shabbos there's no other choice, should someone say Havinenu or not? The Birchas Shai over here is a kasha from a very sadistic Magen Avraham. The Magen Avraham says that the Shulchan Aruch Paskin Hilchos Rosh Hashanah that all the brachas of Rosh Hashanah ma'akvin zeh. The Magen Avraham speaks out that's only by Rosh Hashanah. Mashein kain b'shayim Rosh Hashanah it's not ma'akiv zeh. So the Ner Sholem asked on the Magen Avraham, why is not Ma'akev Zeh? Before Gemara is that Avada all Yud Ches brachas Ma'akev Zeh. You say that brachas Ma'akev Zeh, the Megillah. So the Bialocha says that the pshat in the Magen Avraham is that you're not yotze tefillah at all. That means that if you miss out, you only, Mashal, say only one bracha. And you don't say the entire bracha, kisei the brachas of tefillas yudches. The Magen Avraham says it's not ma'akiv. The Bialocha says that it means that you yotze rachmi, yotze the tefillah de'rais of rachmi, but the takonas chazal of yudches brachas, that you're not yotze at all. So in fact, the Birchashai, so you see from this Magen Avraham that even if you're not yotze the seder bracha shetiknu chazal yudches brachas, if you say a bracha, you yotze the rachmi of tefillah. So a bezoi, why also can't you at least say Havinenu, even though it wasn't supposed to be, it was no takana to say Havinenu Matzah Shabbos? Let's say Havinenu. Why not? So he says, Akor, you have to say there's no takanas bracha b'chlal of Havinenu Matzah Shabbos, so it doesn't have a Torah's bracha whatsoever, so you can't be yotze. It's a little tzarchian because the Bialoch is mashma yotze tefillah deraisa with a bracha ba'alma. Why does it have to be a bracha shetiknu chazal? The Stipler writes that Avona in the Magen Avraham is that only in this B'chai Gavna that someone doesn't know the Seder brachas b'chlal. B'chai Gavna lo tiknu chazal yudches brachas ma'akiv. But ordinarily, avad it is ma'akiv. So Melo, you can understand very good that you can't just make a bracha that shlo tiknu chazal. So B'chai Gavna, in Kvegas a suffix, if you can say Avinein over here or not. Moving further on, the Gemara brings the halach of tefillas haderech. When you go out the derech, hamlech b'koinech say, it's very interesting tzlach. That tzlach says that what's hamlech b'koinech v'asei? It's mashma he asking Rishos, how do you ask permission from Hashem? He says because if you see, if the Gemara says vaytev im shkura tilasi b'fi, then you know that it's mekubal. So therefore, if it's lo shkura tilasi b'fi, then you know that it's a siman hashamayim. You shouldn't go out l'derech, and he brings from the shlo like that, and then he says weiter. The tzlach says that pshat, interesting pshat in the Gemara. The Gemara says you should mishtatif atzmo im atzibur. As Mashma in the Gemara in the beginning said, you don't have to. What's a shakivitaya? It says somebody that's on the level. And the Gemara says weiter b'chanim ben doisa that he was in tuned, and he has the siyat d'shmaya that if Shkur Tlosi B'fi, then Yudei Mekubal, then Tako, he should say specifically Tfilas Haderech for himself. And he shouldn't mishtatif with other people, so he'll have, because if he mishtatif with others, he wouldn't have this Simon of Shemayim. However, a regular person, then Shetaka mishtatif atzmai im atzibur. On the Ikar Halacha Tfilas Haderech, Yaakov Kamenetsky in the Sefer Emes Yaakov asks that the Halacha Tfilas Haderech is brought in Hilchas Tfilah, not in Hilchas Brachas. And the Chayot should be a bracha, like someone goes into the city, someone goes into Beis HaMerchatz. He says, you see from here, that Tfilas Haderech is a tefillah and it's not a bracha. And nafkamina is, like a suffix, you could go more lahachmir by tefillah, and also, you should not be moitzi echel l'chaveiroi, so someone should not be moitzi a baki b'tfilas Haderech. There's a chiddush, born in Sefer Yeshua from Yitzchak Perman, the Ram in Philadelphia. It says a big chiddush, eye open in Tfilas Haderech. There Ben Yonis before, and that base Ben Yonis has this discussion about Avas Olam, that it's a bracha. If you say Moedoim, l'choy it's bracha shein smuch l'chaveta. He says no, since when you say it belayla smuch l'chaveta, so therefore it has a halacha of a bracha smuch l'chaveta. He says Chai Gavna Betzinu b'Tfilas Haderech. It has a halacha of smuch l'chaveta because in Yud Ches, in Shemona Esrei Smucha L'Chaveta. So what's the shaychus? What's the shaychus of Tfilas Haderech to Shmei Tefillah in Shemona Esrei? So you see from here that the Agdara in the Tfilas Haderech is the Tefillah of Shmei Tefillah in Shemona Esrei. They were masakin that bracha of Shmei Tefillah b'derech, and they had fine-tuned it to Tfilas Haderech. But it's that bracha. So therefore it's Miyushav Heitiv. If Yaakov's kasha, why is it in Hilchos Tefillah? Because it's mamish a tefillah.